Let's talk about the sensory architecture of high sensitivity. You know, have you ever left a party feeling just completely drained? Almost like you've just clocked out from a really long day at work? Well, we're going to get into exactly why that happens.
Okay, so let's just start with this question right here, because I think a lot of us have felt this. You're at a party, it's supposed to be fun, right? There's music, people are talking, you're with friends, but for some reason, it just feels like a job, and you leave feeling totally wiped out. Why is that?
For some of us, that feeling is incredibly intense. And there's a phrase for it that just hits the nail on the head: a sensory assault. It's not just about being a little tired. No, it's this feeling of being completely and utterly overwhelmed by, well, everything that's going on around you.
So, what is going on here? That feeling of exhaustion isn't just some random thing. Turns out, it's often linked to a very specific and actually very normal personality trait. It's time to put a name to this feeling.
And that name is high sensitivity. Now, the most important thing to get here is that this is a neutral, innate trait. It's not a disorder, it's not a flaw, it's not something you need to fix. It just means your nervous system is wired a bit differently, wired to process all the information from the world around you with a much greater depth. Now, you might be thinking this sounds pretty rare, but the research shows it's actually way more common than you'd think. We're talking about 20% of the population. Well, let me put that another way for you. That's 1 out of every 5 people. So just think about it. If you're in a room with 4 other friends, there's a pretty good chance one of you is a highly sensitive person, or HSP. So if you feel this way, you are definitely not alone. Okay, to really get a handle on this, let's use a super helpful metaphor: the social battery. It's a great way to think about our energy for socializing. But as we're about to see, not all batteries are created equal. And this comparison right here really shows you the difference. On the one hand, you have the highly sensitive person's battery. It starts the day full, but in a really stimulating place like a party, it drains super fast. And the only way to recharge it is with quiet and solitude. On the other hand, you have the non-HSP battery. It drains way more slowly, and sometimes all that social energy can actually charge it up. So how does this battery drain happen so quickly? Well, it's kind of like a 4-step domino effect. First, you've got all that high sensory input: the loud music, the bright lights, the crowds. That kicks off step 2, deep information processing. Your brain is going into overdrive, noticing every little detail, every interaction. Then comes step 3, emotional intensity. HSPs often absorb the feelings of people around them like a sponge. And all of that leads, inevitably, to step 4, rapid depletion. The battery just bottoms out, and you get that intense need to get away and recharge. But, this whole social battery thing isn't just a nice little metaphor. It's actually rooted in our biology. This is what we mean by your sensory architecture, the real science behind the sensitivity. It's all about having a nervous system that's literally wired to notice more, feel more, and reflect on things more deeply. And let's be super clear about this, because it's the most important takeaway. High sensitivity has absolutely nothing to do with being weak or fragile. It is, fundamentally, all about processing information, sights, sounds, emotions, you name it, more thoroughly than the average person. So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it means you're the person who notices all the subtle little details that other people just walk right past. You tend to think about things more thoroughly before you act. And yeah, it also means you experience emotions, both the amazing ones and the really tough ones, way more intensely. And because you're so much more aware of everything going on in your environment, it makes perfect sense that you'd be more likely to feel overstimulated.
Okay, this is where we need to kind of flip the script. It's so easy to look at all this and see it as a challenge or a problem, but what if we started looking at it in a totally different way? What if we saw it not as a bug in your system, but as a built-in feature? Because here's the other side of the coin. This finely tuned system comes with some incredible strengths. That same deep processing leads to amazing levels of empathy, a profound appreciation for art and beauty, and really powerful creativity and intuition. HSPs are often incredibly conscientious, they're detail-oriented, and they're capable of forming some of the deepest, most meaningful relationships you can imagine. So when you boil it all down, the big takeaway is this: we've got to redefine what it means to be sensitive. It is not a weakness that you need to toughen up or fix. It's a finely tuned awareness of the world, a different and, yeah, often much deeper way of experiencing this thing we call life.
And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. Knowing that about 1 in 5 people experience the world this way, what if our world was actually designed to embrace every kind of sensory architecture? What if our offices, our schools, our parties were built for everyone? What would that world even look like?